So here's an interesting bit of trivia that I'm going to be dropping on Film Week in about an hour or so. Is that and I don't know if this is the first time this has ever happened, but it may be the first time that it's ever happened. And if it's ever happened before, it hasn't happened very often. This week, the number 1 and number 2 movies are going to be Stars Born and Venom. It's going to be 1 and 2 or 2 and 1, whichever one comes out on top.
Right.
Regardless, those are going to be the top 2 films. And both of them have the same cinematographer.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
Who is?
Matthew Libatique.
Oh, Libatique. Yeah. Well, it works a lot.
It works a lot. It did, Black Swan, a lot of that.
Interesting, both in the same week, and just wildly
incredibly different.
Films.
Incredibly different.
Both very good, by the way, in terms of cinematography. Stars Born in particular.
Yeah, Stars Born is beautiful. I mean, he'll get his Oscar nomination for Stars Born. He's not going to get an Oscar nomination for Venom.
It looks like a Bob Rafelson film. Well, I saw the film from the early '70s. Is what it looks like.
It does.
He shot those. Maybe Haskell Wexler. Maybe Laszlo. Maybe.
Yeah. It has. It does have that kind of a feel to it for sure. Yeah.
Very medium.
And my wife actually worked with him briefly, like ages ago when she started her career right out of college. She worked for Chanticleer Films, which was a company that made a lot of shorts. It was sort of where writers and other people, other professionals in the business went to make a short to cut their teeth for directing. And so they had a lot of Oscar-nominated shorts coming out of there just every single year. And she was a PA over there, and so was he. he was just he was working his way up to shoot on some shorts, and he was just an up and coming guy who wanted to be a DP, and now he's one of the most consistently working DPs in the business.
There was a moment more than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
When I almost went there, because I was a photographer for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just and it was it was all still film. Of course, is what we're talking about. And something about writing was being able to sort of completely construct a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was more of the thing for me. But there's storytelling in cinematography.
Yeah.
Just as there is in photography. Sidney Lumet was a photographer and a cinematographer before he became and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It just sort of slipped away. And now it's a thing again.
It is.
There's storytelling in the cinematography again.
Well, that was Kubrick's gift, right? You look at when you look at the photographs that Kubrick did for Look magazine, every single one of those is telling a story.
Yeah.
Within the frame.
In the frame.
In the frame, there's a beginning and a middle and an end, and there are questions asked, and there are possible answers offered. I mean, and that's not something you do consciously.
No.
But it's the instinct.
Yeah. And so when you see a film like 12 Angry Men, in that one room, and if you turn the sound down watch that movie, you'll know exactly what the hell is going on.
It's true.
And you can see everyone turn. I love to watch the lens changes in that film. The way he moves through those lenses from the 35 to the 50 to that long.
Yeah.
And Jesus. Anyway, we're doing it again. Sorry.
We're doing it. Here we go. All right. Well, you're feeling better.
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yes, totally.
Good
I was
deal.
so sick before, but it's okay. And you know what? It happened all of a sudden. I want to blame it on this kid that my young cousin nannies.
Yeah.
And she brings the kid over here. And so I'm going to go ahead and pin that one on that kid. So, anyway, I'm okay. I made it through.
Well, gonna hit some, knock some anime off right at the top here. Got a couple of live action anime deals. Now, these tend to be very uneven. Anime transitioning into live action is not always it's not always successful. Sometimes anime just needs to stay anime, and sometimes it turns out being really, really cool. The Japanese obviously are better at turning their anime into live action than we are, because for some reason we take the Asian all out of it. But we got Garo TV series Collection 2. This thing is, I think I've said this before, this is basically just like high-end Power Rangers. It's basically what it is. And, the evils here are the horrors, and the heroes are the Makai Knights. And, the red mask is the singular villain, right? All this stuff. It's basically Power Rangers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So, anyway.
But anime, comics, comic books.
Yeah.
They've been stealing from each other.
Oh, of course.
I mean, there are characters who are plainly other. Yeah, sure. So, I can't get mad about that.
So this is number 2, volume 2, episodes 14 through 25 from Kraken Releasing, and it's I mean, if if you know it, if you like the whole Garo thing, you'll totally vibe to it. This thing is absolutely hilarious. So Kaiju Mono. Now, as everyone probably knows now, kaiju is basically means monster, and I don't know that this has an anime antecedent. I'm not. I looked. I tried to research. I don't know that there is an actual anime called Kaiju Mono, but it comes from the anime world. This is Sentai via Section 23 that is releasing this. And this is hilarious. The Japanese do have a very bizarre sense of humor when it comes to poking fun at their genre stuff, and this is one of them. What was the thing here that where she's controlling the monster like a puppet? What was that thing? It was last year.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh my gosh.
Right, where
it popped out of my head, but I know
yeah,
but she's inside the thing.
Yeah,
it's like a Gundam sort of.
So
situation.
that was, well, I don't even know why I'm drawing a blank on that, but that's kind of the sensibility that normally finds itself into Japanese.
Yeah, it was the one with
genre comedies.
Anne Hathaway,
right?
And
she realizes that the monster
is it's a Korean monster.
Yeah,
and she realizes that what she does in that sandbox.
If she dances, the monster dances.
The monster dances in Korea. If she stomps on something in the sand, the monster. It was a really neat movie, and I don't know.
So anyway,
despite the fact that I liked it, I can't think of the name.
All right. So bottom line is there's a giant monster named Mono who is going just bananas in Japan and just screwing everything up. And there's this doctor who decides or who discovers what he thinks is the solution to stopping the monster. And the solution to stopping the monster is that you take this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type formula, right? And you inject this into any person, and they then turn into a giant human being who can then take on the monster.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right. Right. It's a Goliath kind of a thing. I want to say it's a little bit like Pacific Rim, except instead of putting yourself inside a giant thing,
that's more
you just turn into the thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the that's the idea.
Colossal.
Colossal. Thank you. And then it basically this movie just kind of turns into a Mexican wrestling movie at that point because you got the guy and the monster. It's hilarious.
I gotta tell you, I love it.
It's really funny and it's outrageously silly.
I could see an American studio grab that and do that
for sure. And then got a couple of more here from Sentai. We got 3 more from Sentai. One is DVD only, not a Blu-ray. Probably appropriately, Pia Carrot 2 DX. Cute girls. She's a maid. She's big eyes. The whole thing. I mean, this is very much on the teen end of this stuff. She's the whole point of this is just looking at Pia Carrot and she works. I don't know. Forget it. It's just ridiculous. It's not. Pia Carrot. If the name is appealing to you, forget about it. So here's a better one. More schoolyard politics, more teenage shenanigans in Scum's Wish. I know that's not a great title, not in English. It's not, but it's actually really, really, really well animated. It's beautiful to look at. This one too. You could just turn down the sound and not actually have to even pay attention to the story. It's just really, really pretty to look at. Deals with kind of a teenage love triangle and a girl's insecurity, and they get into a few peculiar choices that I would say are probably inappropriate for teenagers from any culture. But nonetheless, it's better than 90210. I'll say that. 12 episodes, Scum's Wish, and really worth looking at. Negima, the complete collection. Super, super cool animation. Very highly stylized anime in the traditional anime sense. So it looks like traditional anime, but they do some really, really interesting stuff with it in terms of colors and shading and lighting. It's really very interesting. This also is a schoolyard thing, teaching English. this 10-year-old who has to, teach English to a class full of girls, and then you get into all kinds of weird genre stuff like vampires and ninjas and other things that that intrude on this schoolyard situation. That's always a little bit more interesting when the Japanese schoolyard politics get a little inflection of genre. Also on DVD from Made in Japan, not on Blu-ray, is Gun Parade March. I wanted to like this more. It feels a little bit too retro in some respects. It's well done. Again, kids from high school, but they are super kids. They're like the last line of defense. Right after World War II, there's this alien army that invades, and these kids have to, 50 years later, they're now this super teenage unit, 5121, and they've got to, fight the aliens. It gets very sort of, again, a little bit Gundam-ish, a little bit Pacific Rim-ish, but it's fine. It scratches the itch. On to some stuff from Funimation, which has a great line. Oh, you know what? Got one more Sentai I had set aside because this one's really really very interesting. This is called The Seven Heavenly Virtues, the complete collection. And this is one of the more interesting genre things that I've seen in a long time because it borrows Christian mythology. I almost hate to call it mythology, but what it really is, it's borrowing Christian iconography and theological ideas and putting them in an anime context, which is really really very interesting because usually a lot of this stuff, whether it's fantasy, whether it's science fiction, it's sort of where it's coming from is from obviously Asian roots.
Yeah.
Or even near Asian roots. In this case, it's not. It's straight up Lucifer and the angel Gabriel and all of this stuff. All of them folded into a really cool kind of Joseph Campbell thing. Very R-rated. Let's just say it's very R-rated. So don't expect that this is like a faith-based thing. It's an R-rated, very risque, very sexualized look at a mythological construct borrowing Christian iconography.
It's funny because so is the Bible.
For that matter, yeah. Ain't it?
Yeah, David and Bathsheba.
Yep, indeed. All right, on to some Funimation stuff. Great lineup from Funimation this week. Starting with, these titles just always wipe me out. Bungo Stray Dogs. This is season 2 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Basically, a very mafia kind of story. This is, the Japanese animators taken on a very American concept, which is mafia, and it all takes place, in Japan. But it's basically an organized crime story. This is season 2,
but not like Yakuza or whatever.
Not really. It's basically an American organized crime narrative.
Interesting.
Much more interesting to me is World End. What are you doing at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? That's the title. That whole thing is the title. World End, one word. What are you doing at the end of the world? Question mark. Are you busy? Question mark. Will you save us? Question mark. The complete series.
A marketing nightmare.
It's crazy marketing nightmare. So this takes place in a distant future, 5 centuries from now, where some beasts have destroyed the earth, and now everything is all mythical. They're fairies and leprechauns, and it's all very, again, Joseph Campbell-y. And you suddenly now have your final human savior character, the old Joseph Campbell savior character, stepping up to sort of put humanity back together again. Anyway, it makes absolutely no sense. It's very, very hard to keep track of, but it's nicely animated and on balance, worth having on in the background if you're not doing anything else. These are all Blu-ray DVD combo sets, by the way. All of them from Funimation are Blu-ray and DVD combo. The last 3 here, Saga of Tanya the Evil, the complete series. Tanya is this sweet little blonde girl, who is absolutely deadly. Why? Because she was reincarnated from a Japanese office worker who was really, really ruthless in the corporate environment.
Oh.
So you have a cutthroat corporate climber reincarnated as a sweet little blonde girl and that is the saga of Tanya the Evil. You may find it funny, you may find it disturbing. Either way, it's incredibly original.
You see what I mean?
It's so original. We also have New Game Season 2, which is we've talked about here before. This skews very, very young, but it's entertaining. It's fun. It's all about game development. It's about kids developing games, and the place where they develop them is called Eagle Jump. And they're, it's all that kind of very young, skewing, goofy Japanese comedy with a even more juvenile twist than you would expect normally. And it's I guess it's funny if you can kind of follow the humor. But again, it skews very, very teen, very, very young. And then AOKANA, AOKANA, for Rhythm Across the Blue, Blu-ray DVD combo pack, which is all about. It basically takes the gimmick of anti-gravity footwear and how it revolutionizes sports for kids around the world, and now everybody's just flying with their anti-gravity shoes, and there's some fun things you can do in terms of animation, but the gimmick of that idea runs thin very, very quickly. I gotta say, after like 15-20 minutes,
wouldn't it though?
It's not that interesting anymore. It's more just about to see what the animators do. That's it for our anime this week. So let's jump into some new movies.
Do some new movies. So Leave No Trace, a Ben Foster film. More interestingly, this was directed by Deborah Granick, whose first feature film was Winter's Bone.
Yeah.
Which was the film. It was
She's
a great film.
Terrific filmmaker.
Exactly. My point exactly. It
Yeah.
sort of launched Jennifer Lawrence, I think it was her name's career. All that kind of stuff, right? And that wonderful little movie, and then poof.
Yeah.
For a while there. She was working some independent lenses and this, that.
They have done some
thing.
TV. I think she did a little TV as well. Yeah.
And but man, you'd think that a person makes a film like that, and it has an impact like that. You'd think, I don't know, they would hand the reins to the kind of thing that they would hand the reins to a boy. But it just goes to prove what goes on in this town. Nevertheless, she makes it back to feature films. This neat little movie. Leave No Trace, which didn't do that well, but nevertheless is a very, very good little film. I liked it quite a lot anyhow. So we have Ben Foster, who's this guy who's been living out in the woods with his daughter. I'm trying to think of this little girl's name. Thomas and Mackenzie. Yep. And they're living out in the woods in Seattle doing one of those off-the-grid kind of things, right? Something goes wacky, and they both get pulled in and put into foster care, into social services. He has a little thing going on in his head, and she's a teenager, right? But they want to go back to their lives as before. So this is all about how they get away from the social services situation that they're in, find their way back to each other, and then try to head back out into the wilderness. It's an interesting little movie, and I rather enjoyed it. I don't know why it didn't do that well. It was reviewed very nicely. Nevertheless, if you didn't catch it in the theaters, catch it now. It includes deleted scenes, behind-the-scenes vignettes, and the creating of the film. And just keep that thing in mind about Deborah Granick. Very interesting.
And Ben Foster, too, is one of those guys I keep thinking, and I thought when he played Lance Armstrong, right, that would be the one to push him over. That's a guy who just keeps missing that next level, right? He just keeps missing it.
But not because of his Hell or High Water.
No.
He is the thing in that movie. And the movie's even successful, but somehow...
He's a great actor. He's a successful actor. He's a known actor. He's a respected actor.
But he's not Ryan Reynolds.
But that's it. He's not there on that next level. And he's been kind of knocking at it for a long time. Like Sam Rockwell was that guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Just knocking and just not... And then Sam Rockwell won an Oscar, and now he's, there. Now he's playing George Bush.
Yeah.
So, by the way, did you see that trailer?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's actually very, very funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I hope the movie keeps that tone. Christian Bale as Cheney, right?
Yeah.
And
to be honest with you, that movie W, the Oliver Stone one, that was funny.
It was funny.
And I was so, because people, when you take a good close look at W, mostly, particularly considering what we're doing now, mostly he's funny. And I just really never had that much of a thing with it. But I'm sorry, this looks funny to you.
It does look funny. It does look funny. Well, Sam Rockwell just nail it. I mean, they both nail it, but Bale is buried underneath makeup, right? They did the Gary Oldman on him. They just gave him a Dick Cheney face mask. And, It's quite funny where he looks at Cheney and goes, I want you to be my vice. It's very funny. Here's the funny thing about when people do George W. Bush now. I get the impression, as good as they all are, that they're not really doing George W. Bush.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing Will Ferrell doing George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Because that's for comedy purposes. That's kind of the one you got to live up to.
That's funny.
Death Race Beyond Anarchy, unrated and unhinged. So they brought Death Race back not too long ago, and for whatever reason, it's not funny now, and it's all very Mad Maxy, and it just doesn't work. The original Death Race stuff worked because it was Paul Bartel, and it was comedic, and it was tongue in cheek, and it was the '70s. It was low budget. It was right out of the Corman ranks, and that was fine. Now this is all really just trying to be second tier Mad Max, futuristic dystopian car racing, like metal-minded mayhem, and it just doesn't work for me. And I guess it works for somebody because they keep coming out with them. And it's not a bad cast. I mean, Danny Glover and Danny Trejo. That's Danny. They'll both do anything these days, but they're still names and they're still decent actors.
Danny Trejo's selling tacos. He ain't really worried about the movie business.
He's not, right? He's selling vegetarian tacos.
Yeah. He looks great too, by the way. I gotta admit.
This is what Hollywood will do to you. Hollywood will take a hardcore guy, a hard guy out of prison, give him a movie career, and make him into a vegetarian taco mogul. That's what Hollywood will do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's just so
George
weird.
Clooney has made more money selling tequila than he ever did or will making movies. And I just, you gotta love it a little bit, though.
The Catcher Was a Spy, I'll make mention of real quickly. They did not put this out on Blu-ray. This is from Paramount. It's only on DVD, and for sadly good reason. It just didn't do that well theatrically. Nobody's going to pick this up on Blu-ray. They may watch it online. They might rent it off of Amazon or something streaming. It'll go very quickly to Netflix, I have a feeling. Interesting idea. This is the story of Mo Berg, who was a catcher, a professional baseball catcher, who in 1944 was recruited to work as a spy during World War II. Because he spoke fluent German and was able and willing to do this, and it's a true story. It actually did happen, and this is his mission was basically to. It was a mission involving one of the key scientists in the development of the atomic bomb in Germany, and he was meant to basically undermine that. And it's an interesting story, and the ins and outs and the intrigue of it are quite fascinating. Near as I could understand, and near as I could research, pretty much spot on true, with very little dramatic embellishment and alteration of the facts. However, for whatever reason, it just doesn't come together. It kind of lays there. It misses a lot of its beats, the moments when it should be suspenseful, when it should be really kind of turning the screws on you, when you should be feeling this stuff. It just continues to look pretty. And the actors never really turn the performances up. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's bad filmmaking, but it's poorly modulated filmmaking.
It's because Mo was a baseball player, Major League Baseball player. Yeah. It's suggested that he was gay, yet that film sort of walks around that and instead plays up the sort of torrid sexual affair that he had with this one particular person and I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It just didn't. It
sort of lays there.
Didn't do it.
Yeah.
Three Identical Strangers. This is a documentary. This is really quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, I can remember when this actually happened in the 80s. I remember watching these three. So you have these three identical twins separated at birth. In the early 60s.
Triplets.
Sorry, triplets. Yeah, three triplets.
No, I think this stands a good chance of an Oscar nomination.
Oh, very, very possibly if people remember it. And in the early 80s, they start to stumble across one another. One stumble across one's, another one. And the next thing you know, they're reunited. Beautiful, heartwarming stuff. I remember it on the Donahue show, dude. I watched all of this.
Yep.
All right, then. You don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Fast forward 30 years, and that was a nightmare. It was a mess.
Yeah.
How they came to be separated in the first place is
fascinating.
Absolutely fascinating.
It is fascinating.
What it meant to them and how they sort of looked at each other. They grew up with very different lives. Anyway, it's a really interesting documentary about all of that. Bonus features include a Q&A with the brothers and the director, Tim Wardell. Good stuff.
Interesting indie here called Solars Point. from filmmaker Matt Porterfield, who works exclusively out of Baltimore and makes really interesting indies. You know, Baltimore has been the backdrop for a lot of interesting movies. Barry Levinson, obviously a Baltimore filmmaker, made Diner and a lot of his early movies in and around Avalon, in and around Baltimore. John Waters, also a Baltimore filmmaker of a very different stripe. But so Baltimore has a history of putting out very independent-minded filmmakers. And this is a very simple thing. It's about a guy who went to prison. He's come out of prison now. He's only 24 years old. Moves back in with Dad, played by Jim Belushi. He's still on probation, house arrest, whatever you want to call it, and trying to put his life back together in this small community where everybody knows his business, everybody knows why he went to prison, and there are some romantic entanglements that ensue that are really very interesting and unorthodox. And what's interesting about this is it's not a love story, it's not a romance, it's not a thriller, it's not a crime film. It's a drama about a man trying to figure out how to be a part of a world that really kind of brutalized him at a moment when he didn't deserve it, and when, frankly, he's not even really the guilty one. Yeah. So it's sort of a commentary on the justice system without being a commentary on the justice system. And it's a commentary on society and how we treat people based on those perceptions. You know, can you really ever rehabilitate yourself once you've got that mark against you? And that's not even a question of the justice system. That's that's about perception. And so those questions are all really, really interesting here. And Jim Belushi is kind of the lone name. This is from Oscilloscope. It's out on DVD and Blu-ray. Has deleted scenes and an interview with Matt Porterfield and a trailer, and it's worth watching. I don't know if it's worth owning, but it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, interesting subject matter. The first Purge, A Nation Reborn. So this is the prequel to the Purge films. That middle Purge film was pretty good. Didn't care for the Purge. And I don't know what the middle one was called.
I just have problems with the whole concept.
Well, this one tells you where it's very high concept. This tells you where it comes from. So basically, this is just the Purge on Staten Island. A third party comes to power, and they arrange this whole thing. Staten Island. Nobody has to stay on the island. You can split the island if you want to split it. But if you stay, we'll give you $5,000. And the people who stay do the thing that'll happen in the Purge movies. So that's what it is. Interesting in that, more interesting than these movies, all three of the movies, is how these series of films can sort of catch on, and then the sort of development process that goes into figuring out how to make another one, and then make another one. And Blumhouse, which of course is where the series comes from, they are brilliant at that. They are simply brilliant at that. I don't particularly like any of the movies, but I have to admire the way they figure out. Yeah. And they've constructed. I mean, it really is a little factory over there.
Yeah, there sure is. Yeah. Really creepy movie here called Pincushion from a filmmaker named Deborah Haywood, who's got a great future ahead of her. Boy, this movie is really, really creepy and really well cast. I want to say this is almost like, how would I put it? This is like if you were to make a single white female type twisted thriller out of Grey Gardens and or multiply it times 2. I don't know. There's something in that weird description that I just gave you. So you got a mother and daughter played by Joanna Scanlon and Lily Newmark, who are both absolutely terrific. They're trying to kind of they're a really clingy mother and daughter team, and they're trying to they've just moved and trying to get their lives back together and make a go of it. And now we introduce new friends, new women into the mix, who may chemically alter the way this mother and this daughter relate to each other. And now it becomes this very strange psychological entanglement. It does not go in places you expect it to go. It really takes some strange twists, and it's really it's cool and bizarre. And I guess almost like if David Lynch were a woman, he might make a movie like this.
Jennifer Lynch,
Pincushion,
Boxing Helena.
And then also A Swingers Weekend. Not so fond of this. I get what they were going for. But in the aftermath, so many decades after Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, this simply is not that interesting or that daring anymore. The whole idea of swapping, it does not make for great filmmaking or great compelling stories anymore. It's it feels very dated. It feels very forced. But anyway, that's the idea here. Is you've got a couple who've been married for 15 years, and they will invite their friends to kind of go out for this swapping vacation, and there it is. Doesn't really do anything interesting. Mia Kirshner is the most interesting name here. I don't know what had happened to her. She had just gone completely off the grid, and she's fine. The rest of the cast relatively unknown. It's not terrible. It just isn't as interesting as it thinks it is.
Eighth Grade was a film that everybody was talking about a little bit earlier in the year. It's a really wonderful little movie, written and directed by Bo Burnham, the stand-up comedian. Who's a fairly funny guy, young guy, and has made written and directed a really touching. And moving and insightful first film, a debut film, particularly so because it's about a little girl.
Yep.
A little girl, last week of her 8th grade year, really terrible year in the 8th grade. And she's an introverted little girl, except for when she's on YouTube doing these little advice videos that she does, where she produces a completely sort of different personality. It's very interesting and it's very astute about the way young people, kids in particular, communicate today. Instagram plays a big role in the film, and IMing and all that kind of stuff. It's just a very thoughtful and I don't know. I think this is just going to be an iconic and classic film of the age. I think that years and years and years from now, when people are wondering, I wonder what it was like for an 8th grader. In the early 21st century or whatever, they're going to look at this movie.
Yeah.
And see, in the way that movie Kids 20 years ago, when we were Bo's age, you remember that Larry Clark film?
Yeah,
there were
Kids.
A whole series of those films.
Yeah.
That sort of LIE, Bully.
Yeah.
This, I think, is reflective of this generation in the way that those were of that generation, perhaps.
It probably, but there's a lot in this movie that I really recognize and relate to as well, even though it's now, and even though it's an 8th grade girl. I mean, and even though so much of this is her YouTube thing, right? Her self-esteem is channeled and forged through her little YouTube, her weird, awkward YouTube videos, where you think, really, you're just going to put yourself out there like that? Because that's going to live forever, sweetheart.
Yeah. Not a thing we had to think about.
Not a thing we had to think about. But notwithstanding all of that stuff that I shouldn't necessarily have to relate to, the politics and the pain of 8th grade, I think, doesn't know age, doesn't know gender, doesn't know, and all the rest of that stuff is just it's just window dressing. So Bo Burnham did a really good job with this.
Special features, audio commentary with the writer director Bo Burnham and that young actor Alicia Fisher. Deleted scenes, that kind of stuff. Excellent stuff.
That dad trying so hard.
Josh Hamilton.
Yeah, trying so hard to just be the right dad and having no clue how to. It's just so painful. So a very, very good director is Jean-Stéphane Samar, and he did. You may know that he did Johnny Mad Dog, and he now has a new film called A Prayer Before Dawn, starring Joe Cole, which would have been a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie 20 years ago. This is about an English boxer who is imprisoned in Thailand, and basically they allow him to go into Muay Thai fighting tournaments, basically. And he turns out to be pretty darn good at it, even though he's trained as a boxer. Muay Thai really isn't that far from what he's accustomed to doing. So anyway, it then becomes kind of like a blood sport movie. It's what Jean-Claude Van Damme did in Bloodsport, except here it's not about winning a tournament; it's about trying to win your freedom. And it's the fights are grueling, very impressively shot. Joe Cole is terrific, and they shot this in an actual Thai prison with inmates as extras. I don't know what the rules are in Thailand. You couldn't do that here, but nonetheless, a prayer before dawn, and allegedly based on a true story. But so was Bloodsport, and that took liberties left and right. Yeah. So anyway, check it out.
Don't worry, you won't get fooled. This is an interesting story of cartoonist John Callahan, who as a young
very controversial,
who as a young man was involved in a car accident that left him paralyzed, became something of a sort of alcoholic.
Yeah,
sort of drugged to therapy by his girlfriend, played by one of the Maras. I can't remember which one. Rooney Mara in this movie. Jonah Hill plays his sponsor, and slowly
Oh,
learns.
Jonah Hill is so
He's
good
so
in
funny
this.
in this movie.
He's so good.
And playing opposite of what he actually playing the guy he used to play before he started playing assholes.
Yeah.
In all the movies in which he played assholes.
Yep.
Before that, when he was a kid, he used to play these sort of funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he realized that he has this talent for drawing these sort of edgy and irreverent cartoons, etc. It's a very good movie. I rather enjoyed it. It is a little controversial.
It is quite not quite as interesting as I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Gus Van Sant.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix playing the part. Gus Van Sant directed it. Gus Van Sant never really delivers what I expect him to deliver. So when he's going to give me a film that I think is going to be good, it winds up being junk. And when he gives me a film that I think is going to be junk, it winds up being good. And I can never quite figure him out.
You think about a film like Elephant, good or junk?
See, I was going to expect Elephant to be junk, and it turned out to be really interesting.
I thought so too, being that it's not really about the Columbine thing, but kind of is, but isn't. It kind of is.
Yeah.
And the way he sort of follows, was just so powerful. The one with the cowgirls, even cowgirls get the blues.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
So you never can quite figure that out. But this one, I don't think it's going to be around at awards time. It doesn't quite have the oomph that people are expecting. But I do like that it forces you to. It doesn't take sides on his cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Look, either you're going to be really offended or you're going to find them really funny. Here, make up your own mind," which is sort of what I, Tonya did.
Mm-hmm.
I, Tonya did, and I appreciate that. It respects me as an audience member. So.
Yeah. You can figure it out.
Got a couple of 4Ks here. The first one is Sicario: Day of the Soldado, where the story of Sicario continues, and we bring back Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin, but we don't bring back anybody else.
Yeah, because they knew better.
Yeah, they wrote what's her name out of this thing, because I guess she had to go play Mary Poppins. But this didn't need a sequel.
No.
It really didn't. I don't understand.
Particularly so contrived and silly as that one gets.
It really is. It's on 4K. It's gorgeous to look at. It's violent, and Josh Brolin just really chews scenery, and Benicio del Toro he's just so cool.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
He's so cool.
Yeah,
he just takes it all the way down.
And I don't get it, dude. You got the revenge in the other movie. What the hell are you doing?
I don't know. And the funny thing is, just last night I watched for Film Week.
Which one?
The Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem and the drug cartel king guy, Pablo Escobar.
Oh, the Escobar film. Yeah.
Yeah, the Pablo Escobar thing, which has its own problems. But let me put it this way. I'm drugged out, man. I'm done with the cartels.
Yeah.
It's like there are 7 shows on TV dealing with drug cartels, and it's Colombia and this and Pablo Escobar that. And,
and a lot of them are set in that period in the middle and early 80s and they're all just referencing Scarface anyway. and just leave me alone, man. These guys are all dead. El Chapo's in a prison someplace. Who cares?
It just isn't working for me. But anyway, if you're into it, if you felt like you needed another Sicario film, knock yourself out. There's a few extras on here. Otherwise, it's really just all about watching a lot of guns go off in HDR. The Skyscraper with Dwayne Johnson. Let me.
That too.
Okay,
come on, man. Let's go.
Gorgeous 4K. I'll just say it right there. Gorgeous 4K. Really tremendous. Good looking. Put it on. Show off your TV. Friends will be really, really amazed. But Rawson Marshall Thurber is a guy who started his career basically making comedies. And he's trying to go all action now. And he wrote this. Here's the thing. This is a ridiculous movie. This is like Die Hard crossed with The Towering Inferno with a guy who's only got one leg.
Yeah.
Now, that's what's ridiculous about this. I appreciate there's a prologue to this where Dwayne Johnson, he's like, an FBI agent, and he makes a mistake. No! And he loses his leg. Years later, he's now a security expert with his prosthetic leg, trying to put his family back together again. Only now he's in Hong Kong, and he's the new security guy in what's the highest, most technologically advanced skyscraper ever created.
Yeah.
And, of course, when the terrorists go nuts and all hell breaks loose, his family is trapped between floors that are on fire and exploding.
And if you're wondering if you've seen that before, it's because he did it in the movie before this movie.
Yeah.
Literally the same thing. Big skyscrapers. He's got. It's just seriously.
What's both cool and ridiculous about this is how the prosthetic leg comes in handy.
Yeah.
Which is, he just pulls that sucker off and he's stopping doors with it, and it's now a tool, and he's hopping around on one leg when he needs to and putting it back and kicking butt with it's just, I don't know. It's like it's just trying too hard to be uber action film. And I love Dwayne Johnson. I really do, but man,
even
better
him.
scripts.
There was a moment in maybe the beginning of his movie career, when Dwayne would occasionally be in just a good movie or a funny movie.
Oh, like what was it? The sequel to Get Shorty?
Yeah. Or something like that, and it was good. He just didn't run around knocking people down.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Witch Files, neat little movie if you like witchcraft stories. It's one of those movies about these girls in the Salsa Duval private school. And one of them seems to have powers, and they go out to the woods, and they gather in a spot where all of these witches had been, back in the Salem witchcraft, and they're able to muster up all the power of these witches. Now they can do whatever they want to do, and they start doing whatever they want to do, and they quickly realize that doesn't turn out all that well. I don't know. It's kind of fun. I'm a guy who watched Charmed.
Yep.
In the what would that have been, the middle '90s or something like that? And they're rebooting that show, by the way.
I know.
And I got to think this movie has something to do with that. Nevertheless, cute chicks throwing thunderbolts out of their fists. Commentary with the writer-director Kyle Rankin. Not terrible.
Yep. And Her Stolen Past, which is a good little thriller, a good little indie thriller. A woman who finds the birth certificate of a kidnapped baby in the house where her mom used to live, where her mom has passed away. And that creates all kinds of questions, obviously. It's like, this kid was kidnapped. How's the birth certificate in my mom's place? What did who did what? What's going on here? So we get a little Hitchcockian action where she kind of goes rogue to figure out what went on, and she hires this detective, and they discover things that shock and horrify them, and boom, there it goes. What's interesting is this is actually based on a Harlequin novel. But it's like a Harlequin suspense novel, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, romance usually.
Yeah, it's usually, like all those guys with the chests and the women with the lingerie. Fabio, all that Fabio stuff. But no, this actually goes into some really, really interesting areas. And what I love is it is directed by a woman, Penelope Buitenhuis, I believe is how you pronounce her name, or Buitenhuis. Anyway, really, really, really very interesting. And I always love to see a thriller directed by a woman. So anyway, the novel was written by Lynette Eason. So it is a novel by a woman, a movie directed by a woman, but and starring a woman. But it's kind of a hard driving thriller, and it's got a good edge to it.
All Styles. This is a little sort of urban. By urban, I mean mostly black, but not completely dance movie. I'm a sucker for urban dance movies.
Sure,
I just love them.
Yeah.
For that matter, I'm a sucker for not urban dance movies.
Any
dance movie. The country one, Footloose, the first one with Kevin Bacon, not that other one.
No.
That's the one I'm talking about. So I always really kind of love these. This one is about a kid who goes off to college right before there's a big dance competition. There are all these little dance crews, and he doesn't participate in the competition with his buddy, and he goes off to college instead. And they kind of hate him for that. And he comes back. He puts together another ragtag crew, and they're going to go up against the other one. So it's one of those kind of things. Not particularly interesting at all. What does this have to offer? This has to offer all of amazing dancing, the music and the amazing dancing. If you do nothing when you're watching this movie, but just go to the dance scenes, you'll have a perfectly fabulous time. It doesn't make any difference what the hell is going on in the movie. It is directed by Angela Tucker. I happen to know Angela Tucker. Angela Tucker did this wonderful little documentary series called Black Folks Don't. And then fill in the blank. And it's just this wonderful doc series, which has nothing to do with this movie. And so, whether you see this movie or not, go find Black Folks Don't from Angela Tucker. This, though, fun for the dancing and just about nothing else. On Blu-ray, Star Chaser: The Legend of Orin. I remember watching this anime. This is animation. In the middle 80s, there was a version of this that came out, like regular 2D animation with Michael Winslow and doing all the voice and all that kind of stuff. So watching this now, and this very complicated, sort of densely woven animation it's a completely different thing. It's kind of fun story. It's about a kid who live in this sort of subterranean mind world. where humans are forced to do all this sort of like mining and all this kind of stuff. The kid finds his sword, kind of an Excalibur kind of thing. Pulls the sword, has magic powers. He uses the sword to fight his way out. Joins up with a couple of ragtag guys, and they go off on these adventures and stuff. A thief, and so it's one of those sort of Joseph Campbell sort of stories that's stealing a little bit from King Arthur and stealing a little bit from Christian lore, and like we were talking about before, and sticking it all together. I used to love those early mid-'80s cartoons, He-Man.
Yeah.
And you would look at all of that stuff, and if at the time, I don't think I was paying attention to it, but you could pick out the Egyptian mythology, this mythology, and they would just stick it all together. Even if you just looked at the outfits, now it's like, and that's one of these kind of things. Anyway, this is kind of fun. Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin.
Bloodfest on Blu-ray. It's a Blu-ray DVD combo set. Look, here's the thing. Don't confuse this with Horror Fest.
No.
I don't know why. Well, you know what? Go ahead, confuse them, because basically the same movie. So, Horror Fest. This came out a few weeks ago. It's already on Blu-ray. Horror Fest comes out at the end of the month to capitalize on Halloween. Basically the same movie. A bunch of kids go to what they think is going to be like, yay, we like horror movies. We're going to go to this cool carnival thing that's like where it's like Comic-Con for people who love horror movies. And they're like, oh no, they're really killing people. No. So Horror Fest, there's a real serial killer who's gone into the festival, which is like you go to Comic-Con and there's some one person who's killing everybody. Bloodfest would be like going to Comic-Con and everybody's killing everybody. That's the only difference.
It's like the first Purge, only
it's kind of,
convention.
Bloodfest is very well done. It's about a kid who, there's a backstory thing happened to his mom and yada, 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 and his dad is a psychiatrist and sort of psychologist and all this stuff that, doesn't want him watching horror films, but he loves horror films. And so he goes with his pals to Bloodfest. It's going to be totally cool. And then they realize that all the little recreations of all the different horror movies that they're doing, it's all real. And people are really dying. How do we get out? It's silly and stupid, and the way that it all wraps out is completely absurd. Makes no sense. But here's the thing. And it's written and directed by Owen Egerton, if that means anything to anybody. I don't really know his work. But as well done as it is, as stupid as it is, this is a new genre that has only emerged kind of in the wake of Scream, which is a genre that is not spoofing horror films, traditional horror films, but it is satirizing them. It is paying homage to them at the same time that it is kind of ribbing them. And that's only a phenomenon since Scream. There had been horror film spoofs before that, but this is not like Airplane. This is meant to sort of say we celebrate this, but at the same time we're still going to scratch the same itch.
Yeah.
Of all those films, and there have been a number of them just in the past few years, there's only one that works for me because it actually is incredibly clever, and that's The Final Girls. Still go and see The Final Girls. So well written. So well made, totally shafted at the box office. Got like a 1-week release. Bloodfest, you'll either love it or hate it. I didn't care for it.
I think we got a little TV over here. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's TV time. Let's do it.
CB Strike the series. This is 3 episodes of a fairly intriguing British television series in terms of the content. But what I like most about it is the really classic setup. What you got here is a detective. Hard-boiled kind of guy, Raymond Chandler character. You can anybody you want, and his assistant, not exactly secretary, but assistant, young woman who's hot on his heels and eager to cut her teeth. Doing what he does. He's this veteran guy, and I really, really like that dynamic and their dynamic in this little series. There are 3 of them on this disc: the Cuckoo's Calling, the Silkworm, and Career of Evil. And some bonus featurettes as well. It's a really, really, really sharp sort of London grimy, gritty television series. You'd think that this thing was made in the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter, that's her name,
J.K.
right?
Rowling.
Yeah. She contributed to some of the content in this.
Oh, nice.
Which, good stuff, because, she's trying to break off into a whole other thing.
Redefine herself, sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah, life's not over. There's life after Harry Potter.
Yeah.
911, the complete season 1. How did it take this long for somebody to pitch a TV series called 911, the series? I mean, I just want to shoot myself. Why didn't that occur to me 10, 20 years ago when they first established 911? You walk in, you go to an executive, and you just go, one line, 911, the series. That sells. How does that not sell right then and there? Angela Bassett, Peter Krause, Connie Britton star in this Fox series, which is now coming back for a second season. And you know what? It's good. It's really good. A lot of it has to do with Angela Bassett, who just brings the gravitas. But it's it's basically like all of those Chicago shows packed together. Chicago's got the one about the police, the one about the doctors, the one about the fire. Right. And well, this is about all of them. This is just about first responders and working together, and just it never stops. The best analogy I could say is it's a little bit trying to do what Emergency did in the
back
70s.
In the day. Yeah.
Right?
The guys on the in the red emergency vehicle driving around, but they always interact with the cops, and they'd always go to the hospital.
And I think, did that ever have a crossover with Adam 12?
Oh, it absolutely did.
See?
Yeah.
So this is all the above, but it's much more intense, and it's really good. And again, it's all because Angela Bassett she just turns it up, and everybody else follows her lead, and it's really, really good. 3 discs, and it's about 10 episodes. Really worth checking out, and I want to see where this series goes.
Sando is an Australian series about this woman, boisterous big woman, who built this furniture empire, gigantic furniture empire. And she's loved by all except for all of the people in her family. She does this completely wacky thing at the wedding of her daughter some years ago, and the family just cuts her off and shuts her. Anyway, she's trying to make her way back into the family. As she makes her way back into the family, she realizes the family is probably not. Probably better off over here. Anyway, it's a very, very funny show. Bonus material includes cast interviews and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. These Aussies. The reason why I like these Aussie series, the language, the stuff that they say that strikes me as funny, even when I actually don't know what it means.
You know, there's a reason why I went into my my iPhone and the Siri voice, and I changed it to Australian female. It's like having Tony Collette or Rachel Griffiths in my pocket all the time. It's great. Woke me up this morning.
Young Nicole Kidman, when she would still speak in her natural Australian voice every night. She never does anymore.
I know. I wish she would.
Even if you see her on television or whatever.
Kate Blanchett does, though.
Yeah, Kate will go there.
Yeah.
Kate will turn it on. Freaky Friday, another Freaky Friday, Disney's Freaky Friday. Look, you know Freaky Friday, and it's perfectly appropriate that they make another television series out of it over at Disney.
Yeah.
Why the hell not? Go ahead and do it. Anyway, bonus features on this include a blooper reel and auditions of the Little League girls who play her. I remember Lindsay Lohan.
Yep.
Who did the Freaky Friday movie. And she was a little bitty girl, and I did the junket for that, Jamie Lee Curtis. And I remember Lindsay Lohan sitting on Jamie Lee Curtis's lap. Just gave me the most wonderful little interview, and then, the rest of it happened. So, anyway, Freaky Friday from Disney. Check it out. The weirdest day ever.
So, if you're a fan of the people of Hope Valley and all their wonderful homespun, folksy, frontiersy shenanigans and gettings and going-ons, then you will love When Calls the Heart, the year 5 6-movie collection. This thing just does not stop. I guess this is the anchor for Hallmark now. Hallmark Channel has just made tons of money from this. It's produced by Michael Landon Jr. from the books by Jeanette Oki. All very Landon-y and folksy and homey and kind of borderline faith-based ish. With just a sweet cast. It includes Jack Wagner and Lori Loughlin, who are just fresh-faced as anybody on television ever has been. And, this actually comes with a book, When God Calls the Heart, Devotions from Hope Valley, which is written by Brian Bird and Michelle Cox, but Oki did a foreword to it. So this little booklet really, really turns the screws up on this thing. So, this is like a really serious package. But here's the deal. To get this, you got to go to Walmart. It's a Walmart exclusive. So When Calls the Heart, 6-movie collection from year 5 with the book, Devotions from Hope Valley. You can only get this at Walmart. So, knock yourselves out if you love this show. I just find these things, they're not insufferable, but they're all the same.
Yeah.
It's very tedious to me.
Let's see, from History, the old History Channel, 2-disc collection here, Ancient Aliens, Season 11.
You know who's kicking himself?
Who?
You know who's kicking himself? Eric Von Daniken is kicking himself because when he made Chariots of the Gods, everybody, when he wrote it and then did the movie, everybody said, "You're a crackpot, man. That's ridiculous. You're seeing spaceman in like old Mayan carvings. What's wrong with you? You stop it." And he was a wacko. If he had hung around until now, he could be a trillionaire with this stuff.
With this kind of season 11.
Isn't that amazing?
Ancient
11
aliens.
seasons of this stuff.
It drives me crazy because here's the tagline: science and mythology, and how they're the same thing. No, they're not. Oh, Jesus. Okay, anyway, volume 1, season 11. The Carol Burnett Show 50th anniversary special.
Love it.
Wow! Oh wow! Oh wow! This is just some Vicki Lawrence, Lyle Wagner, Jim. Man, it's just so. It's just this show. This show was something that I actually sat with bated breath for.
Every week.
This was one of the shows where I can't remember what used to come on before the Carol Burnett show.
I don't either.
But whatever it was, I didn't like it. But I would turn it on anyway so that I would not miss one moment of the Carol Burnett show. And I also want to point out to people, young Carol Burnett, sexy.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
sexy. Great legs, funny as hell. And put the lie to the notion that women can't be funny 40 years ago. Also appearing in this, Bernadette Peters, Maya Rudolph, Martin Short, so many people. The 50th anniversary Carol Burnett Show celebration with all kinds of great stuff on it. Check it out.
So here's the thing that's interesting to me is that when the Power Rangers came in the early 1990s,
Mm-hmm.
the Super Sentai series that it was based on, right? It's like basically they went and found the Super Sentai series in Japan, they re-edited it and turned it into Power Rangers here.
Mm-hmm.
So which has happened to a lot of anime, a lot of live action Japanese stuff. It always turns into something else over here. There had already been 15 different Super Sentai series in Japan. This is old hat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this was something people are like, wow, look at this cool stuff. In Japan, they're like, yeah, we've done it 15 times. So anyway, we got another one of them being released from Shout Factory. They went and found another Super Sentai original series. If you want to check it out, it is Chojin Sentai Jetman, the complete series, which is, it's like all the rest of them. These people go up into space, and they're called the Sky Force, and they get hit with birdonic waves, and it turns them into superheroes. And next thing you know, it's a lot of weird costumes and martial arts, and it's the usual deal. These things are all the same. Anyway, it's fun to see where this stuff originated. I don't know what makes Chojin Sentai Jetman different from any other Sentai, but they all, I don't know what makes a Dino Power Ranger versus a robot Power Ranger versus any other Power Ranger different. The suits are different. That's all I know.
Yeah, I only ever identified them by the pink, the blue, the green. The Pink Ranger was my thing. What can I say? She was fantastic. Love Boat. Season 4, Volume 2.
Finally.
Is it a finally?
Do you know when the previous volume of this came out?
No.
10 years ago.
Seriously?
Yes.
What's the problem there?
I don't know.
Love Boat comes on one of those televisions.
I know.
So this is season 4. Love Boat. 1977 is when Love Boat premiered. Believe it or not, I loved this show. This was another one. And the era of that kind of show went away. Probably went away 30 years ago now that I think about it. But it was a wonderful, wonderful show with those sort of reoccurring characters. And you would have actors come through the Love Boat playing different characters than they played the previous week.
Yep.
So and then of course you always had Charo come on the Love Boat just playing Charo.
Yeah.
And it was just wonderful. I thoroughly loved it.
So here, I'm going to tell you. So Love Boat Season 1 came out in 2008. Love Boat Season 2 came out in 2009. Love Boat Season 3 came out in 2017.
Oh, for Christ!
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So three came out not too long ago, but now we're into
9 to 17.
Now we're into Season 4 coming out this year. It's like, you know what? Seriously, people, it should not take a decade
It's the
to
Love
release
Boat, for
4
Christ's
seasons.
sakes.
It's the Love Boat. This is what you do. The Love Boat. I know this is gonna be tough. Paramount and CBS, listen to me. I'm gonna give you some advice. Wade has a brainstorm. It's called Love Boat.
Yeah.
A complete series.
Duh.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just put the whole damn thing out in
Make
one
them
set.
look pretty. Put them all out. This one has the episodic promos on every episode, and I got to tell you, that's not nothing because the episode promos for those shows,
Were
Love Boat,
great.
Fantasy Island, all that kind of stuff, were fantastic. Anyway, the Love Boat, Season 4, Volume 2.
Got a couple of complete series here. We've got Fraggle Rock Complete Series 35th Anniversary Collector's Edition.
God, that goes back 35 years.
Isn't that crazy? 35th Anniversary Collector's Edition. 35 years ago, Fraggle Rock. This comes with a collectible scrapbook This is the first time it has ever been on Blu-ray. Okay, so if you have a complete series of Fraggle Rock from before, get rid of it. Upgrade. You're going to love it on Blu-ray. It looks great. They did a fabulous job remastering it. 96 episodes in total. Is it as fun as the Muppets? It's different.
It's very different.
It's
yeah.
very different. It's its own thing, and
you know,
it's
you were
Henson.
the Fraggle Rocker you weren't, but I was a Fraggle Rock guy.
I liked Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
It did. It was a really, really fun thing. It's not Sesame Street. It's not the Muppets. It's its own thing, and it's its own thing in a really cool way. And I enjoyed it. I love the sing-alongs. I just think this is terrific. It's a lot of fun, and Blu-ray is fabulous. It includes interviews with cast and crew, featurettes, all the promos, and it includes, this is the key bonus, the animated Fraggle Rock.
Oh, really?
All of it in one set. Ooh, I hit the mic. We haven't done that in years.
It's a very exciting thing. The animated Fraggle Rock. I forgot about that, to be honest with you.
And then also, Saved by the Bell, the complete collection. You can throw this away. This is a terrible show. It really is. It's just an absolutely terrible show.
But it spit out all of these young actors who are right now roaming around your television sets.
Very true.
You know,
4 very embarrassing seasons, plus the college years and the movies, and a lot of bonus material that really doesn't matter.
I did have a thing for Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
You know, let me put it this way. I really like everybody in this thing.
But it's a dumb show.
But it's a dumb show. The writing is so embarrassing.
Who was the one that was in that Paul Verhoeven movie? The blonde with the curly hair. She came out of that show.
Yes, she did. She sure did. And it ruined her career.
Yeah, well, one of them did. I'm not actually sure which.
Anyway, so Saved by the Bell complete collection. I mean, look, get it if you just if you're not humiliated just by the title, then this is your kind of show. Me, I can't even look at a still from this without just breaking out in hives.
Mario Lopez, the Beverly Hillbillies, the official 5th season. Which suggested there's some other kind of... Anyway, all 30 episodes digitally remastered on 4 discs. That's enough of it. You're right there. That's all you need to know. The Beverly Hillbillies officially digitally remastered. Good enough just for that. Not a lot of special features on this. As a matter of fact, no special features on it. That is a little bit disappointing, although I don't know what they would have put on there. In any case, the Beverly Hillbillies, the official 5th season, 30 episodes digitally remastered.
All right, folks, that is it for this week, and we'll be back next week with more fun and shenanigans and maybe a giveaway or so. We might have a giveaway, so I'll see what I can line up. All right, folks, we'll see you next week.